and class members. We learned about the class members. In class members, we have property, we have method, and we have accessors, accessor, and constructors. These are the members in a class. Yesterday we learned about properties now, right? We will see properties and accessors, how to work with them. So what we learned, we discussed accessor, we will see now, right? So what is the purpose of property? So how do we configure the property? First we will see. So class comprises of properties. So what is the purpose of property? So generally property is used to store data. In a class, data is stored in property. So what is difference between property and variable? Already we learned that, right? Already we discussed that what is the difference between property and variable. What is the difference? Variables are immutable type and properties are mutable type. That's, can we declare variable in a class? We can. Variable cannot be a class member. Variable cannot be a class member. But we can have variables as method members. We can have functions as method members. Directly class have only variable. Only variables cannot be there as class members. Class members means property. We can have a variable as a method. We can have a function as a method member. So class member means data is stored in property. So usually property is immutable. Property is mutable. That means it can change according to situation. Let's see how we can configure. Generally syntax is very simple. So in a class, whenever you design a class, we have to create a property and the property must define the data type, what data type, and if you want, you can initialize any value. That's how we declare properties in a class. So we have to define property and the property type and what value you want in the property. That is basic. So how to access the properties? So you can access any property within class by using. We can access any property within class by using which keyword? This. And if within class by using this, and outside class by using instance of class. By using an instance of class, we can access it. Instance of class is object. So within the class, we can access by using this, and outside the class by using instance. But very important, if property is static, understood? We learned that we can have static members. If property is static, I told you difference between static and non-static. What you will say? Static is continuous memory. Non-static is discrete memory, right? So if property is static, then it is accessed within class and outside class using class name. It is accessed by using class name. So if it is static, then you can access it. So actually in the syntax here, you will have an access modifier also, right? When you declare a property, you will have an access modifier. So example, we define like this: class demo. So we have public and we have like static and name. It is what type? String, and we can store some value into it. We can define like public, and we have like say you can say private, we can say price, it is number type, and we can store some value into this. So this is generally how you define the properties, how you configure the properties. Now the point is, we said that property can change according to situation, it is mutable, that we will prove now. Means how we can control the properties, how we can handle the properties. We will see one example. So generally, in order to control the properties, so we can use, you can control the properties, property behavior by using we call accessors. By using accessor, we can control the property behavior by using accessors. Now if anyone asks what is the purpose of accessor, so accessors are used to control the properties. That means they are used to give a good behavior for the properties. We will see now example. Actually, we designed property. Now, for example, one small requirement is there. The requirement is nothing but, suppose here the requirement is nothing but, generally we are using some classes. Then let's say here I will add a design. Yeah, actually, suppose we have name, and I want name not to be modified. Once it is initialized, nobody should able to change. Then how? Read only. Good, we can keep it as what? Read only. But if I keep it read only, it is always read only. Am I right? Now I want name in such a way that for few users it should allow to, for few users it should not allow to assign. That means, suppose if user role is admin, he can change name. If his role is not admin, then he can only see name, he cannot change. Then tell me how to declare. If I don't use read only, everybody can assign. If I give read only, everybody cannot assign. Even he is admin also cannot assign. Then how to design a property that it can change its behavior? That means for general users, it should behave as read only. And for admin users, it should behave as read write. Understood the point? Right? We can manage that. So we can handle that by using accessors. Private is not a solution. Private means you cannot access outside. Private is not about whether you can read or write. Private is about how you can access. Access modifiers are about from where you can access, how you can access, not about whether you can store or write. Requirement understood? So that means we need a property in such a way that it should change its behavior according to the situation. According to the situation. Then the question here is how to control this, that we can manage by using accessors. By using accessors. So technically accessor is used in object oriented programming to provide a fine grained grained control over property. Accessor is used in object oriented programming to provide a fine grained control over property. Fine grained control over property, that means a better control on the property. Grained control means to handle every part of property, to handle every behavior of property, everything about property you can control by using accessor. That means accessor can control the behavior of property, can control the behavior of property. Actually, accessors are two types. We have get, we call it as usually getter, which is used to read value from property. Getter which is used to read value from property. In order to read value from a property, we need a getter. And we have set, we call it as setter, which is used to write value into property. Write value into property. That means to store value into the property. To store value into property, we have a setter. And to read value, you have a getter. That means properties can store data and return data, but they have same behavior every time. But we want properties to change their behavior. Then we can change the behavior of property by using accessors, by using getter and setters. Let's see how we can change. So here syntactically we write like this: get, we have to define alias name. Alias name is the property's alias name, and get means it should return the property used for storing the value into property. So directly without accessor also we can read value and we can store value. Directly without also we can read and store. But one problem I told you, if you mark it as read only, so everybody cannot store. If you don't mark as read only, everybody can store. So what is the requirement? So the requirement means how to design a property, so that how to design a property that can change its behavior from read only to read write. Can change behavior from read only to read write, and vice versa. That means from again read write to read only. So how you can control, how you can design this? This is the question. The answer is you can do that by using accessors. By using accessors, you can do it. So you can do that by using accessors. Let's see the example now, how to handle that. Let's create one simple example. So I will open our Visual Code. Let's create one simple program for that. It is taking a little while. Let's check that. Okay, before that, here I will give an example, right? By the time it opens, I can write the program here. Let's see. So you will see one example now. Actually, we have to create. So we will test in HTML. We will test in HTML. So for that, what we will do is we will declare some variables. One is user name is a variable. It is a general variable of type string. We are expecting value from prompt. Then its type can be what? Null. Union of types, I told you. Then we will use a prompt and enter name. That is one. Another, we are expecting role. So this is also a string and null. We are defining a prompt, so enter role. Role is admin or manager or customer, like roles we are defining. Next, we are defining product name. So product name is also string or what type? Null. We will define prompt and we will write enter product name. Now here we will design a class. We will configure a class called product. This product class is having a member called underscore product name. So it is a string type property. And initially it is empty. Nothing is defined inside it. Now as per the project traditions, if you see any name starting with underscore, any name starting with underscore, any property method name, because you might have learned that variable names can start with underscore or alphabet, or it cannot start with a number, right? So now what is the meaning of underscore? Any idea? Why usually names are given with underscore? Any idea you have? So as per project traditions, if any name is starting with underscore, it indicates that it requires further implementation. That means it is not final. That means it is not so complete in functionality. It is incomplete. It needs to be implemented. That means any name in programming standards is starting with underscore. A developer is writing underscore for name, means as per the programming standards, it requires further implementation. So that is the reason reasonably I given that underscore there. So this is one. Okay, now usually what happens, everybody can access it and everybody can store value into it. I will tell you some real-time requirements, means why we should prevent. For example, you are watching websites like cars, bikes, or real estates. When you watch those websites, you can see the detail about a bike or car and everything. Now, if you want price, you want to see the price, and you select what is the price of that car or bike that you saw on website. When you select, immediately it will say that please register and log in to see the price. That means for registered users, the price is visible, and if you are not registered, it is not visible. That means how you can change its behavior. So for few people, it can show the value. For few people, it cannot show the value. Means we need to design property in such a way that everybody cannot read. Everybody cannot read. Similarly, everybody cannot write. Depending on the requirements, they can read or write. So then what we do is, we will create an accessor here, getter. Getter is an accessor. In this accessor, we will give a alias name for this property. That means this alias name is used for mapping to that particular property to access the property. So what we do here, we use product name. This is alias name. Alias name means now this property can be accessed by using this reference. Now what getter should do? The getter should return. What it should return? Whatever stored inside this property. That means this dot underscore product name. Why? Because the members in a class are accessible within the class by using which keyword? This. We can access by using this keyword because it is not a static member, non-static member. We can access by using this. Okay, this is getter. Now we will write a setter. What setter will do? Product name. It will take a new name. Understood? And what it has to do, it should set that new name into this product name. That means here what we are doing, this dot underscore product name is equal to new name. But as per our requirement, everybody must not able to set the name. Am I right? As per our requirement, everybody should not able to set this name. Then here I will write a condition. That means here I will define a condition. What is the condition? If role is equal to admin. If role is equal to admin, then only this should happen. Understood? Then only they should set. Otherwise, if role is not admin, then we will print one message, document.write. We will say that unauthorized. That means you are not authorized to set product name. This message we will display. That means generally everybody can read value from a property and everybody can store value into a property. If you want to restrict, you can use read only. But read only will make read only for everybody. That is the reason read only is not a solution here. Accessor is a solution. What accessor can do is, before storing a value, it can verify whether this person is matching with the requirements to set value or not. If it is matching, it will allow to set. If not, it will not. This is the basic technique of creating an accessor. How to use it, we will see now. How we can use that, we will see. Now here still it is not finished. What we have to do after configuring this? After configuring this, we have to create an LET object for which class? New product. For that class, we have to create an object. And through that object, so we have to access product name. Into that, we need to store the product name. Actually, product name is mentioned here through prompt. Am I right? We are accessing the product name. That product name, whatever they enter, it will store. The product name it will store. But remember, very important here. Before it is going to store the product name, here in this logic, what will happen is, when you send this product name, it will go to this setter. Into the setter, it will pass that name. After passing the name, it will verify the role admin or not. If role is admin, then only it will store. If it is not admin, then it will display this message. That means here, this is setter. Am I right? But setter, before storing a value, it will verify whether that user is admin or not. After verifying only, it will store. That means now it will change its behavior according to the user's role. Now if I want to read and present it, if obj dot product name, that means if product name is defined, what does this means in JavaScript? It is defined. Defined means it is having a value. If it is having a value, if it is having a value, then print it. That means document dot write, we have to print the product name. How to print the product name? Obj dot what? Product name. This is getter. Understood? By using the getter, we are reading the value. By using the setter, we are writing the value. This is the basic point of accessor. Let's see how it works. That means we will see how it is going to work, right? Let's go into the project here, and let's open our project TypeScript app. And as I showed you the application, so that is the TypeScript app. It is because we want to test its functionality. I will copy this code what we written here, right? So as per the logic we are configuring here, just I showed you there. First we will declare a variable, right? And what is the variable name? So the variable name will be user name. Username data type is string or null, and we will expect the value from prompt, and we will say enter user name. That is first. Then we will collect the role. Role is also a string type and a null, and prompt. So here we have to say enter role. Okay, next we have to use product name. It is a string type and or null. This is also prompt, and we will say enter Okay, yeah, let's continue. Just some network issue got disconnected for a while, right? Am I audible to everyone online? Is it okay now? Screen is visible also, right? Yeah, yeah, let's continue, right? Yeah. So here we designed a property product name and we given the accessors. One is get, another one is set. So get is to return and set to store, but we have restriction for storing. Okay, let's create an object for this. Let obj is equal to new product. Through obj, we are accessing product name, and into that we are storing the product name entered from prompt. But this is not accepting because actually here we mentioned string. It can be actual because it is coming from prompt. In that case, it must be string or null. If you have to dynamically handle such random values, better you make it as what type any. That will be better solution for handling it, right? And if it is any type, you don't need to initialize any value into this, initialize any value into it. So just keep that as any type because it is changing, right? Now there is no problem here. So it is just a warning. It is just a warning that it is string or null, right? It's no problem because so here the prompt product name you mentioned as string or null. So here also you can keep it as any type. So because if you want to store in a random type of value which is changing according to situation, then better use any. Because we said that it is not constant, it will be changing. If it is changing, then better use any type, right? Okay. Now we will write one more condition here. So if obj dot product name, that means if it is having a value, then print the value. Document dot write product name is equal to whatever the product name we have to access from here. So this is the setter and this is the getter. That means here we are storing the value and signing. Now what actually happens here is whenever you try to set the product name, then it will go to this setter. Understood? That will take the new name you entered. After taking the new name, it will not directly set that name. It will verify whether the role is admin or not. If it is admin, then only it will set. That means for everybody, it is not going to store the value. Now this program, you cannot test directly because here you are using lot of DOM methods because prompt is a DOM method, document.write is a DOM method. If you are writing DOM methods, you test always in HTML. How to test in HTML? First, we have to translate this into JavaScript. Let's translate that into JavaScript first. Okay. So let's translate that into JavaScript. Then we can link in a HTML page. So I will open here. So let's compile this in the command. You can directly compile in the terminal, right? Here I will use tsc index.ts. Its JavaScript file will be generated. Now don't worry about these errors because actually they are not errors. Read here. It is saying that accessors is a new concept introduced into JavaScript from the version ES5. Make sure that you are using the version ES5 and higher. We are already using it, so no need to worry. So this is not any problem. Okay. How to suppress these errors you are going to learn in Angular. In Angular, we will learn how to put target versions and change these errors. So suppress these errors. Currently, it is not error. It is just a message. It is telling that you have to use JavaScript ES5 and higher in order to use accessors. Because in early days of JavaScript, we don't have accessors. Now we are going to use those accessors. TypeScript is using accessors which will convert into JavaScript accessors. Okay. Now it is successfully compiled. Now we have to link this to HTML page. Let's go to index.html. In this already it is linked now. Index.js is already linked. In the first day we designed that, right? Now here let's run this and see. We don't need to do anything because we just used a prompt there. Okay. Now let's run this index page and see. When I run the index page, as per the logic defined inside it, first it will ask to enter username. I am entering username some John. Next it will ask role. Role I given as customer. And it is asking product name. Product name is some Nike casuals. Okay, now it says you are not authorized because role is not matching. Okay, let's run again. Username is some name. Role is admin. And I given the name as some Samsung TV or something. It's working. That means now that property is changing its behavior. How the property is changing the behavior according to the role, it is changing. And how you controlled it, not with read only, because read only is not solution. If you give read only, it is always read only. If you don't give read only, it is always read write. Now we are controlling that by using accessors. Accessors are used for this kind of purpose. That means we use accessors to control the behavior of a property. We can make the properties more effective in functionality. So you can give more security for properties. So that is the role of accessors. In any object-oriented programming, the purpose of accessors are these. This is one. There is another purpose also. Let's see. So anybody with another role, suppose even manager. So product name is suppose Nike casuals. So you cannot set. You can put multiple roles. You can change the condition. You can write the condition if role is admin and role is manager or role is something, then they can do. So you can add multiple conditions. Remember, you can even write the condition for reading also. Here also you can write a condition. If role is admin, then only return the value. Otherwise, tell him that please log in as admin, then only you can see this value. We can set restriction for even getter. Currently, we set restriction for setter. This is one example. How you try this example, I will give you the process. First, what we have to do is, first you have to add a new file. Here we have to go to which file? Index.ts. In index.ts, this is all the code. Okay, let me copy this. In index.ts, this is the code. After that, next we have to transcompile. Transcompile tsc index.ts. Then link JavaScript file to HTML page. Suppose we have index.html. In that, just you need to link that script source. Okay, I'll just copy that entire code for you so that you can have it. Now you need to just start index.html. Now you will have the options prompt. It will ask username and all these things. So this is one purpose of accessor. This is one purpose of accessor. That means how accessors are used and for what purpose accessors are used in program. There is another technique, there is another use of accessors. Let's see, there is another use of accessors. Actually, you can also use accessors to access any property directly from a multi-level hierarchy. From a hierarchy. So from a multi-level hierarchy. What does that means? We can use accessors to access from a multi-level hierarchy also. What does that means? Multi-level hierarchy means, see, let's take another example here. I will remove this. Remember, currently every day I am replacing the code in index. Only one file I am using, because in order to use multiple files, you have to learn a concept called modules. In the next level we will discuss. Then we can use multiple files and design a application with several files. As of now, you do it only one file. Later we will see how to handle multiple files. Here, see, I am creating a class called product. In this product class, I am defining, so public name, it is a string type, and some name, some TV. I am creating public. Another one is, suppose, customer rating. Customer rating is an any type and it is an object. Already I told you that we can store any kind of data. Either it can be a primitive type or non-primitive type. Property can store any kind of data, same like variable. You can store any data. How to store objects, how to store dates, how to store regular expressions, I given syntax, right? For all of them, we have to use what type? Any type. Now, in this customer rating, so this here, I am defining a option called rating. Rating. I am defining rating. This rating is again an object. This rating is again an object. In this object, I have rate. And this rate is like 4.5. And I have count. Count is like some 46,000. So that is how we defined a property. Actually, this is a lengthy hierarchy. That means how to access rate now. How to access rate? You see, rate is present in rating. Rating is present in customer rate. Like this, a lengthy hierarchy will be there in real-time data. For example, you see some real-time data, like I will show you. Suppose we have API NASA. You can see this is NASA data. This is NASA official website data. Later I will tell you how to use this kind of data. This is the data from the official NASA website. You see, from the official NASA website, we are accessing some data provided by them. What NASA have done is, for general public, they provided some data available so that they can use the data and educate other people related to space. For that, they provided some data open. Everybody can use it. But this data is not for general people. This is for developers. What developers can do, they can access this data and they can present this in a better way so that general people can understand. And see, in this data, this is coming in the form of JSON. You know JSON, right? In JavaScript. Now what it is returning? It is returning an curly brace, means it is returning an object. It is returning an object. In that object, we have a property called photos. This property is what type? This property is what type? you see square brace. That means the property is an array. In that array again object now. In that array again object. In that object we have ID and sol camera. Camera is another object again. Object inside object inside object. And in that camera you can see it is having camera name. And you can see there is another called, there is another option. You see there is rover. Rover is another object again. A lengthy hierarchy is there. That means remember, this is information about one record. One record have this much information. And it is not very clean, very lengthy hierarchy of data. Now I want to access the rover which took the photo. These are Mars photos. They mentioned photo ID, they given a photo, they also given which camera took that photo, which rover took that photo, but it is present in very lengthy hierarchy. Now how to access rover name actually? To access rover name, it's a very lengthy hierarchy. Similarly, this kind of data I will tell you later, we will see. Similarly, customer rating, in customer rating, in rating, rate. It's a lengthy hierarchy. You can have several more hierarchy also. Now see how to access it easily. Very simple. You can create an accessor. Accessor here, I will say customer rate. Accessor is customer rate. And what it should return? It should return this dot customer rating dot rating. So dot rating dot rate. It should return that rate. Understood? That means now it should return customer rate, will return this directly. That means now how to access without accessor? Let's create an object is equal to new product. Generally without accessor, how to access customer rating? We have to access customer rating dot what? Rating. In that rating what? Rate. Like this we have to access. But now we don't need all this hierarchy. Just what you can do, customer rate. That's it. Understood? That means a member in a class is present in a lengthy hierarchy. In order to access that member from every time from the class, it is very difficult. Lengthy hierarchy we have to use. Then you can take help of accessors. You can create an accessor. From the accessor you can access. Right? So that means now see here, I am printing here console.log. I will use customer rating. And how to access the customer rating? obj.customer rate. That's it. I am not using the complete hierarchy. Now let's compile this and see here. So tsc index.ts, and here I am using node index.js. You can see it should print that rating 4.5. So now you have used an accessor for a different purpose. What is the purpose of accessor? The purpose of accessor is to return any property from a lengthy hierarchy using a simple alias. So we used accessors for two reasons. One, to control the behavior of property and to access the properties. This is another example for that. This is very much required later when you are dealing with Angular. That means this is example for that. I will tell you another example. Means hope you understood the concept now. In our Angular, where we regularly use this kind of situation comes, I will tell you. See, actually We generally design forms. For example, so register form, okay? We designed a registration form, register form. In register form, we have name. So we have public name. So we will say username. Username is string type, some username, some John underscore NIT, something like this. That is username. After that, we defined some password. Password is a string type and say John@1 2 something password. After that, we have public. This is address. Or I will give here, this is personal details. Understood? Personal details. Personal details is an any type and it is an object. In this personal details, we have address. Understood? So we have address. So for example, here we have in personal details, suppose we have father name and father name, some name I given. After that, I am giving in personal details address. Address is again object. Understood? Address is again object. In this address object, we have a city. Some city, I defined some city. Now, very important, like this, we have some state and we have some state. We defined like this. Now, technically, how to access the city of the person? It is a lengthy hierarchy. Na? Personal details, in personal details, address, in address, city. That means here I will put a simple accessor. Accessor is city. And what this have to return? It should return this dot personal details. In personal details, address. In address, what? City. That's how we do. Right? There can be several more hierarchies, but we have just defined. That means now let obj is equal to new register form, right? New register form and console.log. So here I will print user name. How to get the username? So simply obj.user name. In the next line, I want to print the city. Am I right? Here we have to keep the city. So I will put here as city. In the next, I will put city. City is we can directly access obj.city. Am I right? That is accessor. Na? If I don't have that accessor, obj.personaldetails.address.city. But now we have a simple mechanism for this. That means you see here, that means tsc index.ts. And here we have node index.js. These are all just warnings. Node index.js. And you can see it will display that. That is the basic point about accessors. That means how we can use accessors and work with them. So you have seen two important points. How to define properties and how to define accessors. You understood both the purpose. One purpose of accessor is to control the behavior of property. Another is to provide access to any member inside the class easily with a alias. For that, we have to use these accessors, right? In our Angular, we will have to use these regularly, accessors, and work with them. So in the class, we have two members. One is property, another one accessor. Next important, in a class we have methods. Method is same like a function. So method is similar to a function in JavaScript. It is same like a function in JavaScript, but I told you na method is what? Mutable. Method is mutable. Now, how to declare the methods? Syntactically, we have to declare public. So we have to define method name, and we can have parameters with data type. Am I right? And if it wants, it can have a return data type also. Am I right? Return data type, and you can configure like this. If the method is not returning any type, then what we have to do? We have to configure as void type. Already in function concept I told you. So all function rules are same for method. That means you can have single parameter, you can have multiple parameters, you can have parameterless, you can have rest parameters. Am I right? JavaScript have rest parameters now. You know rest parameters, right? JavaScript have rest parameters, function with return values, function with void type, and function with closures, function with recursions. All those functions related concepts are same here in method also. That means one simple example I will give here. So we are creating a class product. In this class, we are defining public. So name, it is a string type, some name. After that, we have some price, which is number type, some price. After that, we have quantity. This is also number type and quantity. And we have total. Total is a method. Method we have to define in a parenthesis, and it should return a number. Then return type is what? Number. Already in contract I told you, right? We can define rules for methods. And what it should return? It should return this dot quantity into this dot price. That's how we design a method. And if you want to create another method, print, it should not return anything. You have to make it as void. And what this will do, console.log, it will print all the details. Name is equal to this dot name, and price is equal to this dot price. And in the next line, quantity is equal to this dot quantity. And in the next line, total is equal to this dot total. Total is a method. Now, in order to access this, we have to just use let obj is equal to new product, and obj dot what? Print. It will print all the details. It will print all the details. Now you can see tsc index.ts and node index.js. It will display all. The methods are same. There is no change. Okay. How you use the methods in JavaScript here also same. Only extra is access modifier and data type. Only the difference. So we don't need to discuss much about this because concept is same, right? Now there can be another member here. So another member, what is it? So another member is constructor. What is the purpose of a constructor? Constructor is used for initializing values. Constructor is used for initializing values. Then it should called initializer. Why you are calling as constructor then? If it is used for initializing values, then you should call as initializer. Why you are using some awkward name for that constructor? Understood? What is the point then? Constructor is used for yes. Actually, remember one important point. Actually, constructor is a software design pattern. Constructor is a software design pattern name. You know software design patterns? 23 design patterns are there. We call them as gang of 4 design patterns. You heard about them? So you heard na singleton? You know singleton pattern? In Java, .NET, you will learn singleton patterns. Software design patterns, you haven't learned any. No, as a fresher, you will not learn directly design patterns. It is too much actually. But some design patterns you will learn in various occasions. Right? That means you will regularly use a software design pattern called singleton in your Java and all. Java, .NET, everywhere you have singleton. Singleton means we can create only one object for a class. We can create only one object for a class, right? That is singleton. Like that, constructor is actually the name of a software design pattern. What is the purpose of this pattern is constructor. Constructor is a creational pattern. In software design patterns, we have three types: creational, structural, behavioral. Constructor comes under creational pattern. That means actually it is used to create an instance. Understood? Instance for class. Constructor is used to create an instance for class, not for initializing. Right? You should say constructor is used for instantiation. Instantiation, that means it is used to create an instance of class. Suppose if anybody asked you like how to prevent a class, in such a way that we cannot create an object for that class. How to prevent a class in such a way that we cannot create an object for that class. Generally for a class we can create an object. Then how to create a class so that object cannot be created? Question understood? How to create a class so that object cannot be created? Don't say it static, because static is not restriction. I already told you, na? Static is about allocating memory. For static classes also you cannot create an object. For abstract classes also you cannot create an object. That is not the point. I am asking like security. How to secure your class so that an object cannot be created? By having a private constructor. Understood? These are very important questions in interviews, right? You know, concepts. If you have a private constructor, you cannot create an object for the class. What does that mean? Constructor's role is creating object. You are restricting constructor. That means you are restricting it from creating of objects. Understood? That means the purpose of constructor is instantiation. That means create an instance of class. Create an instance of class. But actually, TypeScript constructor is a little bit different. Actually, TypeScript constructor TypeScript constructor is anonymous type. TypeScript constructor is anonymous type. Anonymous means it will not have a name. It will not have a name. Generally, in other programming languages, constructor name is class name, right? Class name is used for constructor, but in TypeScript it is anonymous. Constructor will not have a name. It is anonymous type without name. That means how do we define constructor here? So we are creating class. What is it? Product. In that we have a constructor to define, then constructor. Like this we have to do. This is anonymous. Constructor is defined using the constructor keyword and it is anonymous. It will not have any name. Generally in your languages you will have the name, class name. But here you will not have that. This is JavaScript constructor, same. That means without any name. Now, what is the role of constructor? The role of constructor, it allows to create an instance for this class. If I don't write a constructor, then can I create an instance for the class? If I don't write a constructor, can I create an instance for the class? Carefully understand my question. If I haven't written a constructor, can we create an instance for the class? Let obj is equal to new product. It is created, na? But it is not having a constructor, then how it is creating? That is what you learned in OOP language, that every class have a default constructor, na? Right? Every class have a default constructor that is responsible for instantiation. That means even you don't define a constructor, why it is creating an object? That means by default every class have a constructor. If every class is having a constructor, then why you are writing a constructor? If every class is already having a constructor, then why we have to write a constructor? So the point is every class, right? So that means syntax like this first. So this is class product, and in that we have a constructor, okay? It is empty, nothing defined there. Now, a very important, every class have a default constructor. Every class have a default constructor. Then why you need an external constructor to write? Why we have to write an external constructor? So if already there is a default constructor, then why we have to write external constructor? Nothing but actually, so constructor, actually constructor is a special type of subroutine. It is a special type of subroutine that is used to define actions to perform actions to perform at the time of instantiation. At the time of instantiation means at the time of creating object, if you want some additional actions to perform, those you can give to constructor. Understood? That means if you want some additional actions to perform, then you can give that to constructor. Give that to constructor. That means special type of subroutine. Subroutine means it is a special type of method. What is the special type of method? For example, see here, I am writing a class called database. This database class have a method, public insert is a method. This insert method will have a option console.log record inserted. Like this we have. Similarly, we have public delete method. So console.log, so record deleted. But remember, before inserting and deleting, we will create LET some Oracle is equal to new database. Oracle so is equal to new database. Now here we defined Oracle.insert. That means it will call this insert and it will insert. But before insert, before delete, any operation, I want to connect with the database first. Connection is compulsory before inserting or updating or deleting. Then if I return a method called connect, understood? If I return a method called connect, in that we define console.log connected, okay, connected to database. This method we have to call manually. We have to call this method manually. Understood? We have to call manually. If I don't call, this will not happen. But I want this to happen every time. In that case, instead of giving this work to a method, you can give this work to a constructor. If I give this work to a constructor, what constructor will do is, at the time of creating object, it will connect with database. At the time of creating object, it will connect with database. Just you have to do your insert and update, insert, delete. That means you don't need to manually connect. That means it connects with the database automatically when it creates an object. Now see here, which method I am calling? Insert method only I am calling. Let's run this and see. tsc index.ts, node index.js, and you can see it is connected and inserted. Am I calling the connection? No. Then means constructor is used to define actions to perform at the time of instantiation. That means you define some actions, those actions will be performed automatically at the time of creating object. That means before I start working, I want some environment to keep ready. That means I need to set up an environment before I start working with it. That environment setup that you want to keep ready, that you have to define in constructor. That means don't say initializing values, because initializing of values is not the purpose of constructor. Constructor purpose is to define actions at the time of instantiation. That means those actions you don't want to manually perform, you want them to perform automatically, then give those actions to constructor. Whatever actions you given to constructor, it executes automatically. That is constructor. But this constructor in TypeScript is little different from your other languages. That is the reason some points you need to learn extra here. Means how constructor works. Generally, in other programming languages, constructor can overload. Am I right? Constructor can overload, but here it cannot. In other programming languages, constructor can be private, public, or protected. Here it cannot. Understood? So constructor have some restrictions when compared to other languages in TypeScript. Now some more points are there about constructor that we will see tomorrow. In the next session we will see that, right? Mostly by tomorrow, day after tomorrow, we will finish this TypeScript. Okay, then we will go with Angular now, right? Mostly we will plan by tomorrow, day after tomorrow, to finish the TypeScript. Then we will use this knowledge of TypeScript in our Angular. We will start Angular. Okay, and tomorrow we will continue every day session. I will start session by 9:20. Session by 9:20. Okay, so then because of my previous classes, it takes time to schedule, right? 9:20. Tomorrow we will continue with this. Okay, right.